So, you guys want to go from being skinny, insecure, maybe depressed, super unconfident to becoming a completely different version of yourself in the process of doing so. But you might be asking, how do I make this transformation? I've been trying. How did you do this? And I'm about to explain exactly what you need to do and something that you may not even think of, like first thing that comes to your mind. So, in order to make this transformation physically, you first have to make a transformation in your mind or internally or in reality, just change your identity, right? And a lot of you guys may think, like, what does identity have to do with anything about a physical transformation? And this is exactly what it is. Because when I was stuck being this version of myself to where I was 90 pounds, insecure, depressed, X, Y, and Z, I was acting like this version of me, meaning that I deserved to have the reflection of me physically, or I deserved to have the physique that I initially had, right? And everything was my fault. And I'm gonna tell you exactly how this is going to apply to your life. So, when you're stuck in some sort of box or some sort of boat, I guess we could say. Actually, let's draw out a boat, right? I don't know how to draw out a freaking boat, but you guys get these little paddles, and then, like, I guess we could put water or whatever, right? So when you're stuck in this boat or this box, either or, you're always going to default back to this version of you, or you're going to default back to the things that this version of you has always done. So with me and for you guys in this example, you default to not eating any food. You default back to your bad habits like skipping the gym, or putting yourself in a negative state of mind. And all of this is going to play a role into what exactly is going to be your actions, right? So when you are in this position to where you're always in the same boat and you feel like you can't get out of it, and you're stuck in this, I guess, metaphorical water, or this metaphorical box, you're always, like I said initially, going to default back to these same habits that you've always been in, right? So, or that you've always, I guess we could say, not been in, but practice, right? So a lot of you guys default to maybe not tracking food, not eating enough, continuing your bad relationship with food. And this is going to keep you in the same box. And you being stuck in the same box is already going to be demotivating in itself. And then you're going to end up skipping out on the gym, losing motivation, feeling terrible, and then not taking the action necessary to get out of it. And then this is all going to funnel down to you being in a mentally worse state of mind, or in a mentally worse spot, right? And this is exactly where I was at. And that's why I was stuck for so long, or for the amount of years that I was, stuck in this body, or being this version of me that wasn't even happy in his own skin, is because I would constantly put myself through the exact same cycle of something like this. You will think that you want to change, and then before you know it, you default back to the thing that you once knew beforehand, and then you end up being in a worse state of mind. And then it's like a continuous, what the heck is that? It's like a continuous cycle. Hold on, let me actually draw this out correctly. It's going to be like this continuous cycle of you being the same version of you. And because you're aware of it now, because if you're watching this, you obviously want to change, is going to continue to put you in a negative state of mind, ultimately leading you to take even less action down the line, right? And this is just going to continue to compound. And before you know it, it's going to 2x, 4x, and then even 10x. And then you're going to dig yourself into an even deeper hole. And you might ask yourself, well, why is that? It's because you've unconsciously trained yourself to continuously default back to these things that lead to less action, leading to less results, and leading to more of a negative mental drag, I guess we could say. Right. And before I tell you guys exactly how you can, like, make the physical transformation, I'll just explain to you what needs to happen before that can even be possible, right? So the only way that you can kind of disrupt this pattern is to, what I like to call, draw a line in the sand, right? or here, let's draw it over here just for the sake of example, right? You draw a line in the sand to make this transformation occur, right? So you may ask yourself, well, what does that look like? It can look like a lot of different things. It can look like you getting a gym membership, you getting a coach, you just starting to do something so different from what you're used to, or so different from what you're comfortable doing. Um, all right. So something so used to, or that goes against what you're so used to doing, that it disrupts this pattern in a way. And ignore me just like fumbling on the keyboard. But you doing one of these things, like buying a gym membership, getting a coach, working out with a friend, X, Y, and Z, whatever that big shift is, or like you committing to like your sobriety journey, well, it could literally be anything, right? Just something that causes such a huge change in your lifestyle that you are forced out of this box, right? And once you're able to draw this line in the sand, you're going to unconsciously put yourself in a spot to where you almost force yourself to step into this version of yourself's shoes, meaning that you're going to start doing the polar opposite of what you used to default to doing, right? In the past, when you felt demotivated, when you felt like you weren't making any progress, or you just felt some sort of negative emotion, and you would used to default back to not eating any food, skipping the gym, and then just like practicing some negative habits like smoking weed or whatever it may be, and then just like continuously putting yourself in this cycle over and over again. Once you draw this line, like I said, you're stepping into a completely new identity. And that means you're going to start acting as if you're already this version of you before you even physically get there. So that could look like you start tracking your food correctly. You start doing all of the things that you once knew that you needed to do, yet you pushed off or like pushed to the side simply because you decided to draw this line in the sand. And I'm going to stop drawing here because it's almost no point of me continuously making these terrible drawings. But once you're able to draw this line in the sand and step into this version of yourself, like I said, to where you're acting, behaving, thinking like this new version of you that you have never been in the past, that's when things are going to start to change. Because in the past, you were always looking at yourself as this weak, insecure, unconfident, non-committed man that you once were, to committing to, after you draw this line in the sand, a stronger, confident, consistent, disciplined version of you. And what this is going to do is force you to start behaving like him, right? And this is the biggest step in the journey, or the biggest step in the equation, because once you start identifying as this version of you that you want to be, it's going to be nearly impossible for you to default back to this version of you, because you're no longer this version of you in your mind, right? And after that, all of these things that you once didn't do beforehand are going to slowly but surely become second nature. So, like I said, you're going to start thinking like this person. You're going to start eating like this person. You're going to start training with the intention like this person does. And because of that, you're ultimately, over, a long enough period of time, going to become this version that you've always wanted to be. But until you're able to shift this identity and get out of this, default state that you've always been in, you're always going to be stuck in the same box. Because, like I said, until this line is drawn, you have absolutely no reason to even take any sort of action, especially if you've been stuck for years like I was. So, in my example, my big draw, or my big line in the sand, was me just simply getting a gym membership, right? But for you, it could look something different, like getting a coach or working with a friend, X, Y, and Z, whatever it may be. But my biggest thing was getting the gym membership and telling myself, okay, I'm going to start acting as if I'm already the version of me that I envision in my mind, or the version of me that I wish I was. So because of that, I was able to take more action, and then I was able to be in a better state of mind, and I was able to almost put myself in a positive upward spiral until I ultimately did embody this version of myself that I always wanted to be. So Biggest thing that I want you guys to take away from this, I'm not going to drag this video out long at all, is simply just draw the line in the sand. Do it. Start now, whatever it may be, right? Get the gym membership, get a coach, start working out with a friend, get some sort of accountability in the way, and draw a big enough line that, or draw a big enough, not big enough line in a way to where you disrupt the patterns that you've been in so significantly that you force yourself to be this version of yourself, or you force yourself to step into this version of yourself's shoes. So that's literally it. I'm not going to drag this video out any longer at all. If you want to draw the line in the sand and actually become this version of yourself that you know you should be, and embody this version of you that you've wanted to be for so long, then click the link in my description, book a call with me, and work with me one-on-one. Like, I obviously coach skinny guys, and if not, then check out my Instagram, shoot me a message, and I'll help you guys out in any way that I can. But biggest thing that you need to do is draw the line in the sand and start stepping, or start walking in the shoes of the version of yourself that you want to be. So that's literally the video. That's it. Book a call with me if you want to, or don't. I don't really care.